Cause I know what you got me. It's so much more than I can see. It's so much that I can become. That's why I'm reaching for the blood. I see
الحمد لله رب العالمين وبسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمد رسول الله. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. What you smiling about?
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillah. How's everything with you?
Everything is good. Everything is good. This was a good Monday. Is not my get into the week day. This is kind of like my day to gather thoughts, study, reflect, and chill out, not put too much on my plate. That's really what Monday is for me. So today was good. I go through these different phases sometimes where I feel like I'm not being as productive as I want to be. But like that's just a mental construct. I know that I'm being productive, but I always feel like I could do more,
Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar. Well, it's your time to shine. You're already shining, so let me just pull the veil back and let you shine a little bit brighter. Alhamdulillah. So it's all on you, sweetie. Assalamu alaikum.
Alhamdulillah. Alaikum assalam. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا رسول الله السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Welcome. We've made it to another Monday. We've made it to the beginning of the week. And in light of this shift in the conversation that the Imam is going to pull us into about this change in the economy, because we're talking about wealth, right? That I want to talk about, that the belief. Me and my dad spoke about it shortly, but I had time to kind of reflect on how your thoughts create the life that you want. Everything that we have in our lives right now is as a result of an idea, an inspired thought, faith, what we believe can or cannot happen. And when we pursue a thing, and it doesn't always mean, money, but family, relationships, to move, anything that sets us on our life journey, is there's a part of us that believes that it can happen. There is a belief, even if you're afraid of this choice, even if there's a sense of fear behind the consequences of a particular choice. Like I said before, like when we make certain choices in our life, we always, I always ask myself the question is this for my highest good? And when I go through the Rolodex of all the things, as what is really motivating me for a particular goal that I'm setting out to do, what am I motivated by something other than Allah? And if I'm being motivated by something other than Allah, it's time for me to start over. And in the starting over, it gives you an opportunity to take a look at, what story, what narrative are you operating from? Are you seeking, to be validated by your outside world, people that you socialize with, the flex, as we call it, right? And in that motivation, that is something that we have to kind of sit back and be very clear, because some decisions and choices that we need to make, that's best for our highest self, for our highest good, may feel very uncomfortable. And this is when ego can come in. See, now ego, this thing about ego is not always about arrogance. It's not always about um being cocky or thinking that you're above or better than someone else. Sometimes ego is the thing that stunts us, that holds us back, because even though those other characteristics or shades of ego can't feels like you're getting the upper hand, that's even holding you back. Your arrogance is holding you back. Your cockiness is holding you back. There is healthy confidence that is necessary when you enter a space, because you know what you know, and it's an unwavering knowing, right? It's not this fake knowing that you have to put on this face so that people fear you and don't challenge what it is that you know about yourself. What's coming to my mind is Muhammad Ali, of course, right? Is that the fight started before we get in the ring. The fight begins before we even step into the ring. It's a mental game. And I believe that I am the greatest. I believe that I am beautiful. I believe that I am going to win this fight. There's nothing that anyone can say to challenge that part of myself. And so that walk, that energy, that air that he entered into the space with is what he came to the ring with. This same thing about how we pursue a thing, business, our financial choices, we move more comfortably when we know a thing. I always want to take, this little window of time when we have a chance to connect, or for a chance for me to speak independently, to bring back to the attention of, if there is something about faith or something about this way of life, Al Islam, that makes you waver, it's because you do not know a thing, right? And when you do not know a thing, it's easy to be moved by someone who is firm on what they believe, right? And so you can move left to right, anywhere they want to place you, because you have not been firmly rooted in truth. So the to be firmly rooted in truth is the journey to the knowing. It's the journey to understanding this Quran that Allah has given us, and knowing that it is only Allah that can teach us Quran. The imams and the teachers and the sheikhs and everyone else, they provide you tools. It's like you're going into a mine, and the imam will give you a pickaxe, and another one will give you the cart to go underground. Another will give you a flashlight. Another, they'll give you all of these tools, but ultimately it will be up to you to dig deep and find your jewels, right? um uh, Mine your ministry, right? And that is mine, me, mine, my gold mine, jewel mine, right? That in this knowing, you have to believe that there are jewels there. You don't enter into this dark cave unless there is a knowing that the jewels exist, that there's a knowing that the treasure exists, right? There is these spiritual signs, or you see proof in that there's a little glistening in the cave. When you go, it's like, okay, I'm gonna dig there. That's what I need to do. This is the same thing about our life journey. But we can't move firmly and rooted in truth if we are not pursuing the knowing. And that is what gives us the confidence. That is what makes us clear, like, yeah, no, this is what I signed up for. This is what I know. And that there is a point in understanding that regardless of whoever's perspective comes your way via teachers, sheikhs, books, movies, whatever, culture, any of those things that come your way, you now can identify and respect what they bring to the learning process, because you have your learning and you have a perspective, because your eyes are only yours, your vision is yours, your insight is yours, and it's a beautiful independent gift that is given to you by Allah. There's no one else that can give you that but Allah. But there is a seeking that has to happen. And when you become confident in something that you do or that you know and that you understand, you walk different. The swagger is different because you enter the space believing and knowing that you belong there. Because what you have is good and rich and unique, right? They say that beautiful people can recognize beauty. And when I say beautiful people, meaning that you're not threatened by the beauty of someone else in the room because you have your own beauty. You're not threatened by someone else's style or way of being because you have your own style and way of being. And it's rooted in truth. It's not something where it's like, okay, so that I can fit in, I'm going to dress like this, look like this, move like this. No, it is because you are firm and confident in knowing that what I have is enough. It is valid. And I don't have to shift who I am or how I show up in order to be embraced by the outside world, right? Because others who have a level of grounding and who are rooted in truth will recognize you. We'll see each other. I see you, right? Because I see you, because I recognize it. It's familiar to me. It is like something that I have experienced before, right? And that's something that I've experienced before is because of who I am. So there's a sensitivity that we may have when we interact with our youth, right? With our young adults and children, that when we see them play or we see them explore, there should be a softness in us because they're a reminder of what we know now and the journey that we went on to get to that place. The joy, the laughter, the simplicity of play, that we still should carry some of those tools with us as we become adults and not forget it, right? Another cultural component, cultural tie-in that helped to bring that to truth is Hook, right? And that in the movie Hook, Peter Pan grew up. And in him growing up, he did the things that were considered textbook adult, the thing to do as an adult, and lost the joy. It was a loss of balance, right? There was no balance in the interaction between himself and his children. So everyone around him was unhappy because he could not find happy. And so he had to go and do that inner child work. Right. And this inner child work is both beneficial for the healing as well as beneficial for really recognizing the beauty of the life that we live. Right. And then it'll help you to see, well, where did I lose my roots to where now I'm moving this way and that way, right? There when we grew up, when we had as children, we had in our minds an idea of what we wanted to be when we grow up. I want to be X when I grow up, right? And I've always been attracted to artistry. I've always been attracted to culture and movies and the art of storytelling, right? And And so I see how those components have still followed me here now today. I mean, look, my gallery in the back, the beauty of imagination, the beauty of visualizing an idea and then seeing it manifest into something concrete, that sometimes we lose sight of that because we're caught up in the journey of the bill that needs to be paid. We're caught up in the journey of, we don't get the rest that our body needs. So we don't know how to go out and play. We're watching TV trying to keep up with the Kardashians, right? And so our life is lost because we have not quite figured out the joy of learning, even the joy of discovering something new, because we are on this hamster wheel of life, this ongoing turning wheel. So this passion for wanting to learn and evolve and grow never stops. It's like it is told to us to seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave. Seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave, not no, no, from the cradle, whatever that is what you bring, through the rest of your life. No, it is in that the seeking of knowledge from the cradle to the grave, that when certain transitions in technology, in culture, in life, that when it throws us a curveball, we are prepared for the learning. We are prepared to understand what it is that we need to know, so we don't lose out on the richness of what life has to offer. So these things for us is this year. So the tools that I want us to go back into is to trust the part of what you do know. And if there's an insecurity, which we'll always have parts of us that wants to know and learn and understand, but you have to be willing to do the work. You'll get the tools from the teachers that are around us, the friendships that we have, the experiences even in life will give us tools in order for us to go in and pull out the jewels necessary for our life. So the work never stops, right? The work never stops, but we can understand finding the joy within it. Uh, Go and reach back into those joyous times. How do we find the balance, not in being in one extreme of life and not balancing out the fard, right? The obligations and those things that are extra, right? Because they both have value on both sides. You can't just do one thing and leave out the extra, right? Not just zakat and no sadaqah, right? Like these are things that are so very important that we constantly want to come back and review within our lives. What is it that is out of balance? And to close, this one thing that was, Surat al-Rahman is what I've been looking at the most lately, because I want to understand, Allah's, his the blessing, the abundance, the what is said that's translated as favor, right? And that the favor is in the balance, right? The favor, you'll find the favor in the balance. You don't find the favor on one side and not on the other, right? You find the favor in, you got the land, you plant the seeds, you go through the seasons, and you take a rest, and then you harvest, and then you get to reap the benefits of what happened there. And there, that's where the joy happens. It wasn't this one thing where all I'm doing is putting the seeds in the ground, and the rest I'm just going to leave it. That's an extreme way of being, right? So we have to balance out the way of being in order to receive and understand and know Allah's favor. The favor is in the balance of our activities, of all of the things that we do. There's no way to find this level of joy, and then joy and laughter, without it being something that is mutually exchanged with the people that are around you. You can try to be joy and happy in your house by yourself, but the joy and happiness is in the exchanges. It's in the relationships and how we interact with each other as a community, right? So the continuous seeking and growing and learning and knowing, don't ever get comfortable that where I am is where I will be. We want to constantly be evolving. We want to constantly be embracing this part of this human experience so that we can experience the full richness that Allah has given us in giving us this life and allowing us to be here another day, another year, another decade, right? We want to experience the richness of it. So the balance is understanding financial wealth and legacy. It is an understanding the changes of what our money is going to do for us so that we're not forever doing the work, but the money that we earn starts to do the work for us so that we can experience life. This is the cards that were dealt. Yeah, who knew, like, to live in the world you have to create work, or you have to generate currency. This is what life is, right? But in the doing so, when we do it with the proper mindset and the proper understanding of finding the balance between the work and the play, and understanding the give and the take, and being charitable and being saving, that this is what will allow us to generate the best parts of our life. So with that, I believe that is my time. Yeah. Alhamdulillah.
Mike, can you hear me now?
I can hear you great.
Alhamdulillah, thank you so much. You're soothing. So it's like if you were telling a story, everybody would be sitting back and and you were telling a story. It's very, very, very,
Yeah.
very, very, very important to be there. And I'm reminded when I listen to you say, see, that's the feminine side. You got to have the feminine side. We need that balance. We got to have that balance because I'm
Alhamdulillah.
going all
Yes.
in brain side, right? Mashallah. I got a little heart. I got a little heart. You should know. You got to tell the people that.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, he does. He does have a heart. You all. I know. Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much, sweetheart. Let me give an
Thank you.
opportunity. Anybody wants to chime in right quick? This is, of course, this the nights, the Monday nights, and now it's abbreviated. I am going to spend maybe 30 minutes or so, but we only schedule the program now to be an hour live, and then we go after that and record a continuation of it that we post up on a clear understanding institute. When is it? When is the second part of the last one, and when will the second part of this one go up? Just for those who
It should go
may
up at
want
the
to know.
end of this month, like the last week
Okay.
of November. Hmm.
Okay. All right. So it'll be both of them or just this one?
I think I'm gonna put all of them up, like all of what we did
Okay.
so far, because this is
Okay.
only our second one, right?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Got it.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. Thank you, sweetie.
You're
All right.
welcome.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So, based on the time, I'm gonna move right through it. Go right to it. I said that tonight we want to introduce you to the metaverse, right? And that that aspect of it is. I need to change my little mic setting here. Um, okay, start with this statement here. The logic of the natural growth of human potential into I should say probably its ability to create leads inevitably to the types of developments we see manifesting from human curiosity and imagination, applying his knowledge to the needs arising from the dynamic relationship between the human and the material environment. Now, without unpacking it, I wanted to get the words out there so I can say it, and obviously I need some edit on that. Point is that what's happening right now with the economy, the nature of the economy, many times when you think even that word economy, it brings up mostly in our mind, what's going on in Wall Street or the price of this or the price of that, meaning inflation and different things like that. I want you to broaden your scope a little bit when you think about that word. Is like the nature of how how wealth is created, how wealth is exchanged, how wealth is impacted. Think about it in those terms, because there's a very natural process that's going on, and my motivation right now is for me, and my aspiration for you is for you to be convicted and uh, doubtless, doubtless, and motivated by the fact that you want to take advantage, be a part of, grow with, develop, and advance in accordance with what is happening in the world of wealth creation economics, because it's going on. I mean, it is really, there's a serious party going on with new wealth creators. There was one, I don't know his name right now, but there was a young man who, they said RuneScape. Let's start with that. RuneScape video game, long time ago. And there was also one that you've heard us share information from before, Ivan on Tech or something like that. He used to play when he's 12 years old, 13 years old, playing RuneScape, and there were ways to buy and sell things in this game, RuneScape. And so that was their introduction while they were playing these video games. And now these guys are multimillionaire tech moguls, that the old heads, quote unquote, which even themselves are younger than me, consulting them for them to give them the scoop on what's happening. So I'm just saying, it's like there's a whole world out there that some young people have been born into. I do have to say, admittedly, that so many of our young people, I'm going to say young Bilalian people, they've been keeping up with the latest game, participating in the latest game, but not on the financial side of it, and not getting the benefit of how their experience can translate into wealth that their parents and grandparents had never imagined. Okay, but that being said, I wanted to start with that statement just so you can understand that, blind or not, paying attention or not, it's going on. But it is not like, whoa, where did that come from? When you understand, whoa, where did that come from? No, it came from the natural, logical advancement of the potential of the human being, putting his curiosity and imagination and the knowledge that arises from it to work to solve the problems and meet the needs of the human being that are naturally occurring in his material environment. That's so when we talk about metaverse, we talk about crypto, we talk about all these other things. This is what it's like: the wheel, it's like fire, it's like learning how to fly, it's like ironwork, and all these historical things that man evolved upon and realized and actuated in his life. These things are just another thing on that road. And for that reason, I put in the statement, inevitable, his ability that leads inevitably. This is the natural take this step, then it's going to lead to that step. You take that step, it's going to lead to that. That's the logic of our situation. Okay, enough said about that point. Now, this is something that I think many of you are very familiar with, especially baby boomers like myself. Maybe in the early 70s, you got introduced to Alvin Toffler's wave theory, right? And the wave theory of Alvin Toffler is from brute force to brain force. It was a movement from first, it was all about your backs, then it became about your brain, right? Each wave of the 1, 2, 3 waves that are talked about in his series, the trilogy of books, each wave is defined by the relationship between force, wealth, and knowledge. So this is a categorization. This is a formulation of understanding what has gone on in the world and why things in the world are and were happening in that way. And so his vision incorporated three waves, right? The agricultural wave was a wave where force was dominant over wealth and knowledge. Whoever had the most force, they controlled the wealth and knowledge. And that was a period of time, the agricultural period, as is identified, that lasted for about 10,000 years, right? Now, that has ended for most nations, not all, for most nations. And there's a lot of material I cut out here because I didn't want to go into the editorial elements related to it. But the point is, there's the agricultural wave, which is the wave whereby force dominated wealth and knowledge. So whoever had the most force, they were able to take advantage of wealth and even those who know. That was a period of about 10,000 years. It's ended for most nations. The industrial wave was a time when those who had the wealth were able to take advantage and control force and knowledge. They controlled the muscle and they controlled the minds as long as they had the wealth. That was during the industrial era, right? Henry Ford comes to mind, who's attributed to the establishment of the assembly line for auto manufacturing. And he had been taken to court because he was said to be ignorant or something like this, some kind of charge like that. And they were asking questions, that kind of, let's just call them SAT questions to move on. And then he basically ended the questioning by saying, look, in my office, I have a row of buttons on my desk. And whatever I need to know, I just push one of those buttons. And the person who knows that, they'll come and tell me what I need to know. So for as far as him having the wealth, he was able to command those who knew because he had the wealth. And also, unfortunately, head busters and strike busters, etc., or rather goons, if you will, that to put the striking people in line, he also had the power over that. So his wealth gave him power over force and knowledge. So, and that was the case for the industrial waves. In the industrial wave or in the industrial age, that was the case. And this industrial age continues for many non-Western nations, but basically for those. In fact, you can look at this as I go to the information wave, the information age. You can look at this in the frame of trying to understand first world, second world, third world, right? Third world would be those people who have not completely emerged from the demands and the nature of the agricultural era. The second wave or the second world would be those who have not emerged completely from the dominance and dependence in the industrial type era for their wealth and their life. They're still industrially dependent. The first world would be those people who are at the information, at the edge of where they are in control of information and control of knowledge. And by virtue of that knowledge, they can command wealth and force. And this is the period that we've been in now. That can get broken down further. I'll mention perhaps if we get there, Don Tapscott, who breaks up the industrial era into 4 segments. But those 4 segments actually, in my reading, those are actually different ways of his incorporating the information age as an industrial development, but meaning that tools that are put to different uses, but he identifies information as a source of industry. And it is, but different people categorize things differently. But let's move on. So 10,000 years in the agricultural age, about 300 years of the industrial age, and the information age using current time, 2021, about 65 years. And it's new for most major Western nations. That is, it's 65 years new. It's been around for that period of time. That paradigm shift. And those who are rising to dominance are those who can create and exploit knowledge. Now, this was the way that Alvin Toffler, let's call it 4 decades ago, was describing it. Now, this is what we're experiencing. What we're experiencing now is a shift to the outer edges of what he called the information age. Different terms like technology are used and the like, and that's the transformation that's happening in the world right now, and that's what we're talking about. And that's where this metaverse aspect comes in. Taking further, now I say there's a fourth wave. There's a fourth wave. And the fourth wave, why and how can we say it's a fourth wave? Because now, when you look through the lens of Islamic perspective, from the Islamic perspective, this four frame or this fourfold development, the Quran says everything receives its completeness in 4 periods. So the completeness is not in 3. You know why it would be in 3 from the Trinitarian paradigm, or from the quote unquote the world of the West, especially industrial, the industrial Christian West. Naturally, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, that kind of thing. But in terms of the nature of reality, is 4. It's 4. Imam al-Ghazali, rahimahullah, he gives us these 4, and Imam Muhammad introduced it to me: the intuition, common sense, science, and revelation. This is the pattern of the growth and development of the cognitive capacities of man. He first operates on intuition. And intuition is just that natural kind of intelligence that we have basically from birth, before the agricultural era, before the industrial era, before the information age. We were operating upon intuition, right? Intuition, natural sense information, natural sense information. And that would equate with the pre-agricultural and the agricultural period. Then we move to the next level of knowledge in terms of man's knowing and his cognitive development. It's common sense. Common sense is the common ability to use the senses. Common sense, the sense ability is higher than intuition. Some things we may think of as being intuitively correct, but then with a little more knowledge, we realize that no, that intuition is not correct, because sense information has told us that there's something lacking in the intuition. So common sense is the next level of mental capacity, developed, capable, potential, realized, and actualized common sense. And that equates with the pre-industrial to the industrial era. The pre-industrial, the industrial era was a time when the sense, and literally the body, etc., being put to work in the smokestack industries, in the the mills, and all those other places where the steam engine enabled man to use those machines and build and develop from there, the industrial age, smokestack industry. But that would be within that period of the common sense era, when you pair it with man's growth and development and how economy evolves upon man's evolution. Okay, so man, once he evolves beyond the industrial, then he comes into the scientific, and that's the next layer of cognitive capacity, knowing capability in the human being, is when he becomes scientific, beyond the intuitive capacity, beyond the sensibility, the common sensibility, and now into the scientific aspect. This is the natural growth of the human being. Without respect to Alvin Toffler, we're just showing how it correlates. That the idea is that now, once man gets to the scientific level, that scientific level applies to, again, the pre-informational to the informational age. So every one of these eras, agriculture had its proto-agricultural period, industry had its proto-industrial period, information age had its proto-information age, and all that would fit into the schema for science, the role that science begins to play in the life of man was all part and parcel of his evolution to economy beginning now to be driven by information more so than industry and more so than agriculture, meaning information turns around, and like robotics, for example, whereas men would be on the assembly line in Ford's operation, but now here comes technology, here comes robotics, and it replaces the body. What is that? That's information, and that's science doing what it does, and the nature of economy changed accordingly, and everything related to that evolving economy changed as well. All right. Okay, so that covers the agriculture, industrial, information evolution in the common way of looking at it. But there's a fourth wave. It's not complete without a fourth wave. What comes to mind right now is the periodic chart, or periodic table, where it tells you all the elements and the atomic weights of the elements. And there was a period of time where there was a big gap in the atomic chart, in the periodic chart, and a quote unquote a relative unknown had a logic and a reasoning and a way of going by and say, well, okay, well then if this is this and that's that, then that should fit right here. There should be an X number of elements that should fit right there. But because he wasn't in the good old boys club, I'll call it, he wasn't given due regard in his initial representation. But as he continued to pursue what he understood about it, it was discovered that what he had found was the actual fact, and that what was missing from the chart could be logically filled in by doing it this way. All right, well, this is the position that we're in as Muslims, with the revelation and the pattern of al-Islam, and understanding the nature of creation and the nature of man and the design of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not something that we discovered, it's something that Allah revealed for us. And when we read it and now apply it to real world circumstances, there should be a fourth wave. And we say that that fourth wave is characterized by rational and spiritual discernment, by the execution of the will of the Creator for everything, for everything. That is Allah. We are awake now, and we are in possession of and have access to the highest levels of information. This transcends information. This is why revelation is more than information, right? And so that revelation now applied to worldly concerns, that revelation applied to the material needs, that revelation applied to the solutions, or to bring about the solution for the problems of human beings. That's what we're in possession of. Camila talked about Surah Ar-Rahman. Surah Ar-Rahman, one of the verses in that verse said, go out, traverse the bounds of the heavens, traverse the limits of the skies, but you won't be able to do it without sultan. It didn't say that you couldn't do it. It said, well, you got to get the right knowledge in order for you to reach escape velocity for this planet. Then you can fly beyond that, right? So we get all excited. Alhamdulillah, not reason that we shouldn't. What Elon Musk is doing, and Star Trek guy going up in space and what have you. But that's, God said, well, yeah, that's possible, right? So, and even in the economy right now, the moral and spiritual dimension of it is focused on doing well, or doing well by doing good. And that has to do with being a good corporate citizen and all the rest of that. All right. So now when we talk about the metaverse and when we talk about blockchain technology, this is that fourth wave. This is an element of that fourth wave reality economy. And so when we see these things sticking their heads up, which includes blockchain, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, what have you, all that is the dawning of the new world. The paradigm shift of the out with the old, in with the new. That's what we're seeing when we see Bitcoin at today, $61,900. And somebody's saying somewhere, oh man, it's going down. And it's $62,000 is going down. So you fail to recognize it. Where did it come from? Where did it come? It came from nothing. It came from an idea. It came from a paper. It came from somebody's curiosity. It came from the application of somebody's knowledge. It came from someone knowing how to use what already existed and put it together like a machine so that it could bring about the kind of results that we're experiencing today. And this is just the beginning. These dips and rises, that's all a part of the technology itself. It's like fire or anything else. It's like, this is what fire does. Fire goes this way, then it goes that way. Hey, that's it. So winding down this part of it. The point is that I'll speak to the blockchain technology, the nature of it. It is building a world and an economy based on the intangible. The intangible. As I say this, and as we finish the broadcast for today, you have to. Well, you don't have to. I recommend that you need to take some time and do. I'll go ahead and use the language. Do a deep dive into the metaverse. Go look into it. We have more to say, and some of the things that we'll say in prepping for the institute portion of the broadcast. We'll say a little more, but I'm saying to you right now, who will only be on this side of the conversation, you need to dig into it, because that is the next thing. And when I say that it is building a world, it is building a world. That's the idea of this virtual world. And if you don't think that this virtual world is real and has a significant impact on life such as it is, all you need to do is just look at the gaming industry and look at how many billions of people are spending how many millions of hours in virtual worlds. And only now it's becoming, in this era, in this transformation, now it's becoming monetized. It's becoming there was always some way to get little tokens in it, but now the back and forth between virtual world and real world, and between the two is augmented reality, of VR and VR, virtual reality, AR, augmented reality, which is a mix of the both of them, and all of them have financial impact, consequences, and investment possibility and investment potential. And the Mark Zuckerbergs of the world, who bought Oculus in 2014 for $2 billion. He bought Oculus for $2 billion in 2014. Okay. And his plan is to spend $180 million in the $180 billion in the next 10 years in order to continue to advance the metaverse, quote unquote. Of course, he has his own profit motive in there, and there are others who are into. Microsoft is in the game too. That's what the big boys, I'll call them the big boys. I won't say Godzilla and King Kong, whoever they are battling for that apex predator position in the coming world. That world is coming. That world is going to become the reality. Think about it. This young generation right now, we turn around, we look at this young generation, we say they spending so much time. How old are they? Let's make them 15 to 25. Let's just make them like that. 15 to 25. Okay, run it up 20 years. Run it up 20 years. So you got 35 and 45 year olds now. Do you think they're going to be more people involved in that virtual world, or they're going to be less people involved in that virtual world? Is that okay? Email. All right, where were you when email first started? Right? What did you say when you first heard about email? How did you feel about it? Natural computer. How you gonna get electronic mail? I'm gonna get my mail. All we knew is opening envelopes, right? Okay, now here we are. 25 years later? Round figures. Let's make it 1993. Oh, whatever. Let's make it. That's almost 30 years. At least 25 years. So 25 years later, how significant and how ubiquitous is email now, right? Okay, well, that's email, and that's Web 1, right? We're going to have to check out. But the point is that given that you've seen the transition of email to that, and now you're right now faced with the idea of Bitcoin, that okay, I'm just getting that. And so now here they come with something else, Metaverse, NFTs, and they're saying that's going to be bigger than that, just like that is bigger than that. So it's like, look, Bitcoin. They told you in the piece that we played that the total real estate market value is 1.8 trillion. Real estate. Think about all the things you know about real estate. Trillion, right? Bitcoin is almost too big. One coin is a $2 trillion unit. Bigger than the market cap of real estate. And it's just the beginning. And now here's opening a whole other world that literally, just like the bare ground North America that we lived in before, and now the built up North America, get that in your head that that's what's coming in the virtual realm. There is digital geography that worlds are being built on, will be built on, will have real economic impact and value. And just the same way that concrete made somebody wealthy in the three-dimensional world, whatever builds things in the virtual world is going to make somebody rich beyond imagination. And the virtual world does not have the same limitations of three-dimensional earth, dirt, etc. So it's like, let it be understood that it's like, if you could get a what do you call it, a concrete contract, you're gonna get a contract for concrete in the 1900s New York. Right, 1900s New York, you got that. Forget the gangs of New York. Let's imagine you don't have to just die for everything. You got that. It's like, come on, you're in a position now to do that. So let me finish this statement and close out. That the blockchain technology is building a world and an economy based on intangible, which is opening the new world for all human beings to share in wealth and the opportunity. Blockchain technology is a means of freeing the debt slave from the present global fiat and fractional reserve debt-based economy scheme and its economic oppressors. Trust this, brother and sister. This is the exodus. This is the exodus from the fractional reserve, fiat-based, government-dominated world of economy. That's what's happening right now. I mean, there's going to be some hybrid for some time, but in terms of the wealth that's going to be built and is being built, it's still happening right now. You don't have to, the whole thing doesn't have to collapse in order for you and I to realize what we and generations before us have never imagined. That's what we're faced with. Those are our possibilities. That's the reality of where we're at. So we're going to have to sign out. Let me get my co-host back up in here. And since I'm taking a little extra time, anybody has comments or question, push one on the Blog Talk side of it. Those of you who are with us on this side, peace be unto you, Imam. You do a very real delivery of scriptural knowledge, Psalms 1448. Tell us that the world is being changed to be other than Allah's language. I need some clarification. Maybe I'm rushing. The world is being changed to be other than, yes. Yeah, it's being changed to what Allah, other than what Allah has ordered. Alhamdulillah, Allah has his servants and his will carrying it out. I'm going to look at 1448 and have some more to say about that perhaps later. Get my co-host back up in here. Yes, ma'am. I took a little longer than I expected.
Okay.
but us is here. Oh, I gotta
Yeah,
get you. I gotta
yeah.
get you. Sorry. You're not live. You're live now. Go ahead, sweetie.
Okay, I'm live now. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Good, good.
yeah.
Alhamdulillah. I think that we see that this COVID has
Go.
definitely closed up the curve around technology, and like
Mm-hmm.
the need for us to when I think about our pioneers or those that have not grew up in this era of technology, that there needs to be a space um, to learn it, to close the gap of the not knowing, in order to be able to move with it
Yeah,
freely, because everything has pretty much moved to a very technological space. But like um, when we think about your grandchildren, my nephew Issy and Jacob and Soraya,
yeah.
they came out knowing
Oh
how to
man.
move and
Yeah.
and code and do things with technology. And that
Yeah.
and when I think about during my time, I was the connect the VCR, connect the DVD player. That was the era
Mm-hmm.
I was in regards to technology. And so
Mm.
now it is shifting once again,
Yeah.
that it's requiring that there's a space where we have to be intentional about understanding this technological, closing the technological gap, or we
Yep.
will very much be lost and become a victim to the predators that are on the
Yeah.
other side of the technology realm that we have not really looked into. So it is definitely something to start to make those moves to really understand it.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe we'll have some pop up broadcasts on the institute side, some live presentations that AMAs, ask me anything. Don't mean I always have
Mhm.
all the answers, but we at least have those kind of
Mhm.
sessions. So we'll do that. So I want to thank you. We thank everybody who's been with us.
Alhamdulillah.
Inshallah, hang in there. We'll catch those you are going to be with us on Wednesday. God's peace be on you.
Yes.
Everybody have a wonderful day. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam.